When I was 4 years old, I was only 2 months pregnant. I haven't yet ushered in the birth of a new life, but I accidentally received a consumption message from the obstetrics department of the hospital. I wanted to find out the truth, but I found out that, not only in terms of pregnancy, I am one step slower than others. Even when I got married, I fell behind the so-called little third. This situation is too bullying. I can't stand it anymore, so I can only choose to bring my husband to justice and send him to prison. 01. After 4 years of marriage, I have never been able to give birth. This made the mother-in-law, who was eager to have a grandson, anxious. She asked for all kinds of unknown traditional Chinese medicine everywhere and forced me to take it, claiming that it was all for my good. If I resisted a little, she would roll around and cry hoarsely. The words are full of accusations and dissatisfaction with me. It seems that not taking medicine and not having children is the greatest disrespect and sin for her. In the face of my mother-in-law's coercion and accusation, I tried to explain and communicate. She suggested going to the hospital for a checkup, but she refused. She thinks that the hospital is cheating money and may also bring bacteria and affect her son. My husband also stood on my mother-in-law's side and advised me to be patient. For the sake of him and the family, getting pregnant early makes my mother-in-law happy. In desperation, I can only choose to compromise and try to avoid head-on conflict with my mother-in-law. Adjust your routine to avoid her rules of life. However, due to the high pressure of work and irregular routine, my menstruation began to become abnormal and often came late. I didn't take it too seriously until my friend Ruru reminded me. I just realized that this problem may not be simple. Ruru suggested that I go to the hospital for a checkup. Maybe I'm pregnant. Although I thought it might not be a big deal, I couldn't help shaking in my heart. My husband is on a business trip, and my mother-in-law is nowhere to be seen. I decided to go to the hospital quietly for an examination to see what was wrong with my body. 02. The next day, I went to the hospital alone, completed a series of processes such as blood sampling and examination, and then sat in the hospital lobby waiting for the report. At this moment, I accidentally saw my mother-in-law carrying a thermos bucket, raising the corners of her mouth, and walking towards the ward as if she had won the jackpot. I was surprised that my mother-in-law has always been disliked by the hospital. How could she appear here for no reason? I thought I was eye-catching and didn't think much about it. Until 6 p.m., the report came out, showing that I was 2 months pregnant. I held the report in my hand and trembled with excitement that I almost burst into tears in the hospital hall. The long-awaited good news has finally arrived. I wrote down the doctor's advice in a daze and tried to calm down. I was about to call my husband to share my joy, but I caught a glimpse of my mother-in-law again. I'm sure it's her this time. I was going to tell her the good news, but she was going to the obstetrics and gynecology department. I wonder what my mother-in-law does in the obstetrics and gynecology department for? At this moment, I received a credit card consumption record text message showing that the obstetrics department of Oriental Hospital paid 17688.5 yuan in full. Oriental Hospital is exactly my hospital. Obstetrics department? Production. Who gave birth? Thinking of my mother-in-law's whereabouts in this consumption record, I decided to go to the obstetrics and gynecology department to find out. Does anyone still swipe my card after giving birth to a child? I went to the nurse's station for consultation according to the consumption record and easily learned the ward number. When I pushed open the door of the ward, I saw my mother-in-law sitting in front of the hospital bed, holding a child in her arms. And my husband, who was supposed to be on a business trip, was also in the ward. He gently said to the mother, "Honey, thank you for your hard work. You gave birth to a big fat son for our old Lu family. Whatever you want, I will satisfy you." The mother-in-law also said, Yes, it's true that the sky has eyes, and you can get a man in one move. It's not like that. Well, don't say bad words on a happy day. My good grandson." I stood at the door with a pale face, and I couldn't believe my ears. I took a chance hoping that I had heard it wrong, but when I took 2 steps forward, when I saw my husband kissing the mother in the hospital bed, I knew that everything was true. Everyone in the ward was immersed in joy, and no one noticed me standing at the door. I can't face the scene in front of me, so I can only choose to run away. With great joy and sadness, I had a high fever that night. The house was empty, and I was the only one lying in bed in a daze. Fortunately, Ruru called to ask about my examination results. After hearing that my voice was wrong, she rushed to my house. Seeing her, I couldn't help holding her and crying. She comforted me and said, "Ching, what's wrong with you? Don't scare me. I'm with you. It's okay. I'm here." I cried so hard that I fell asleep. When I woke up the next day, the room was dark. I was lying on the bed, quietly as if I had been abandoned by the world. It was not until Ruru came in and turned on the light that I saw the sunlight pouring in. I wanted to cry again, but she didn't ask me what happened and I didn't say it. We stayed quietly for a day. Finally, she told me when she left. "I don't know what happened, but feel free to call me whenever you want to say it. As long as you come to me, I will be there." I asked the company for annual leave, packed up and moved out of the house. In order not to scare the snake, I sent a text message to my husband. My company has arranged a 1-month business trip. Let me tell you. 03. He hasn't replied whether he is accompanying his dear wife. I don't know if I have no time to pay attention to my existence, which was once regarded as a treasure. I just want to escape and don't want to stay in this suffocating home again. Recalling the days when the college club recruited new students, I met Lu Suyong. As my direct senior, his sunny and handsome appearance can easily capture the hearts of girls. As for me, I am ordinary in appearance and have no special talent. However, he noticed that I was like an ugly duckling, caring and considerate of me. He once said that he liked my difference in the way I looked up at him. The girl's feelings are always poetry, and I am still intoxicated by his charm after all. Our relationship has always been stable and sweet. His friends don't understand why he chooses me, and he always praises me with a smile in front of them. You don't understand. Although Qingqing seems ordinary, she has indescribable preciousness. I thought I was the greatest luck in my life to meet him. However, in his junior year, the college sent him to study abroad for a year. Since then, his messages have been intermittent, often without replying to messages or answering the phone for several days. Every time he contacted me, he always cried to me about the hardships of life and language barriers. I was so soft-hearted that I remitted almost all the living expenses given by my parents and my savings to him. My friends scolded me for falling in love and helping me. I count the days and look forward to his return. However, a year later, he did not return, but said that he would continue his further study there. Near graduation, my contact with him was reduced to 1 phone call a week, and I could also feel his increasingly cold attitude towards me. Just when I thought that our relationship could not cross the gap of foreign countries after all, he suddenly appeared downstairs in my house, hugged me tightly, and said to me, "I'm sorry, Qingqing. I had an accident after I got off the plane, and I lost my communication equipment and identity card. Fortunately, my classmates on the plane with me at that time helped me. That's why I can't contact you in time, which makes you worry. During this period, I have been doing odd jobs to maintain my basic life. Fortunately, with your help later, I can continue my studies. The professor asked me to continue to study there and stay, but I don't want to. You are still in China, and I can't rest assured of you. I'm back for you." He is like the prince in the idol drama, and a holy light shines on him. I fell into his charm again. His family conditions are not good, and his schooling is supported by student loans. I am almost responsible for the living expenses of going abroad. As the only daughter in the family, my parents are very open men. They only want me to be happy and don't embarrass him too much. I just asked him to be nice to me. For my sake, my family married a house and a car, and his family only gave a dowry of 30,000 yuan. After graduation, I married him. Let's decorate our small house together. He said it was a day he had never thought of before. He has a study, and there is only a picture frame on the desk which contains a group photo of him and his tutors when he was abroad. He smiled brightly, and the girl next to him was also very beautiful. "In our new house, why don't you put our group photos, but a group photo of teachers and classmates?" I asked. "Oh, although I had a hard time abroad, I also met good classmates and humorous professors. I'm not thinking that we may not have the opportunity to meet again in the future. I want to commemorate it. You won't be jealous, will you? Ha 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 ha," he explained with a smile. I felt a little uncomfortable, but I didn't say much about the newlyweds. It's just that when I see that photo occasionally, I still have a thorn in my heart. After moving out, I went to the hospital again. I was too hasty before and didn't read the girl's information carefully. Point 04. Coincidentally, when I arrived, there was no one in the ward. The woman in the hospital bed was immersed in a dream, and the child next to her was also sleeping sweetly. I stared at the child. He was my husband's flesh and blood, but he and another woman were born. This child is his illegitimate son, which I have been taking medicine for a long time but failed to have. In this situation, I think everything seems so absurd. I tried to take my eyes off the child and turned to the mother next to me. Although she looked a little haggard after giving birth, I still recognized her at a glance. She is the woman in the photo on my husband's desk, the woman standing next to him. "So you have known each other so long ago," I thought to myself in my heart. Is she the classmate he said to help him on the plane? In the days when they get along abroad day and night, have they already secretly fallen in love with each other? The temperature in the ward is suitable, but my hands and feet can't help but feel cold. But my mind is getting clearer and clearer. I silently wrote down the name and information of the mother in front of the hospital bed. After leaving the ward, I immediately contacted the private detective. After connecting the phone, I said straight to the point. "Hello, detective. I'd like to ask you to check Suyu's basic information. She is currently in 1322 in the obstetrics and gynecology ward of Oriental Hospital. I need to know her past experience. I hope you can send it to me today, okay?" "Yes, but you need to pay more," the detective replied. "Okay." I readily agreed. It's funny to say that I wanted to ask a private detective to help me find an infertility expert before. It's okay now. The doctor hasn't got the result yet, but I have to find my husband Xiaosan's information first. Then I went to the law firm. I was received by a lawyer surnamed Tang. She is a gentle and intelligent woman who specializes in dealing with women's divorces. I learned from lawyer Tang that the success rate of the first instance of divorce is not high. It is best to have conclusive evidence of the man's cheating, and the source of the evidence must be legal. Lawyer Tang, I want him to clean up and leave the house. Is it likely? I asked. I also want to help you, but our country's law does not stipulate clean up. If I go to prosecution, there is enough evidence that I can get the maximum compensation from the court. Lawyer Tang explained. Miss Sun, I suggest that you get the evidence of the man's cheating as soon as possible, find out the property problem under your name, and do a good job of property preservation. Also, please protect your personal safety. Lawyer Tang continued. After mastering the information, you can show down with the man first and negotiate a divorce. If it fails, we will sue for divorce. I will do my best to help you. Lawyer Tang gave her advice. After communicating with the lawyer, my heart calmed down a little. I know there will be no one at home at this time. My husband and mother-in-law must be in the hospital. So, I contacted the master who installed the surveillance while there was no one at home. Hidden cameras are installed in the living room, bedroom and study and connected to my mobile phone. I tried to search for information at home, and found that the computer in the study was locked. I tried to enter his birthday, graduation date and our wedding date, but they were all wrong. At this time I thought of Suyu. I entered the day he flew abroad in his junior year, and the computer turned on unexpectedly. Looking at the backup of Suyu's chat records that he didn't want me to find and deleted on my mobile phone, I felt sick. He knew that I respected him and would not touch his computer. In addition, he thought that I would definitely not know the password, so he blatantly saved it in the desktop folder. I took those unsightly chat records as evidence. This is the most favorable evidence. In the computer, I also accidentally found a large insurance receipt 3 months ago. The policyholder above wrote Lu Suyang's name. Thinking of those vivid news cases, I couldn't help but feel a chill in my back. Killing his wife to cheat the bail. I can't imagine that I've been married for 4 years and I've been in love for 7 years. Lu Suyang not only cheated, but also had the idea of killing his wife. What on earth have I done to treat me like this? 05. Ringing, the phone rang suddenly in the empty room. Wake me up suddenly from my meditation. I realized that a layer of cold sweat had oozed from my back. Picking up the receiver, it was the voice of the detective. Sister Sun, I found it. Suyu, a native of Jiangnan, once studied in Jiangnan affiliated school, with excellent grades, and went all the way to high school. After graduation, she applied to study abroad and went to Ribuluo on April 12, 2017. According to the entry and exit records, she has returned to China for more than a year. On April 12, 2017, this date was like a sharp knife, deeply stinging my heart. That was the same day when Lu Suyang went abroad. It turned out that the classmate on the plane was her. The detective continued. Sister Sun, there is something strange. Suyu's family conditions are not good. Her father is a gambler. After divorcing her mother, she lived with her father. Normally, such a family should not be able to pay the high tuition fee of the country without sunset. I held the receiver tightly, and my nails almost pinched into the palm of my hand. Ayo, I got it. You continue to check her situation abroad, and help me check my husband Lu Suyang's relationship with her. I have a photo of the insurance receipt here. I'll send it to you. Please help me check the details of the insurance. Understood. The detective responded concisely. Hanging up the phone, I sat weakly on the sofa. This once warm little home now makes me feel so false and strange. I stroked my stomach, and my heart was full of guilt. Baby, I'm sorry to you. I was so looking forward to your arrival. But now, I'm not sure if I can love you wholeheartedly after you are born. You were born in a family without love, which is unfair to you. I'm sorry. I contacted Ruru and told her what I had found in the past few days. Pregnancy, cheating, unbearable records, large insurance policy. She is an impatient person. She was furious when she heard what happened to me. Lu Suyang, this bastard, is he still a human? It's a beast. Where are you? I'll come right away. After Ruru saw me, she took me out of the house. She knew that I was staying in a hotel these days, so she directly arranged for someone to pack my luggage to her house. Why didn't you tell me as soon as possible? You moved out of my house and stayed in a hotel. Didn't you treat me as a friend? What are you going to do next? I fully support you. I smiled bitterly. It's not that I don't want to tell her. It's just that it's hard for me to say this kind of thing until I'm 100% sure. I'm going to the hospital for an abortion. I'm going to divorce him. I said firmly. Okay, I'll accompany you. Hold my hand tightly. The next day we went to the hospital together. I contacted the doctor and made an appointment for abortion surgery. Fortunately, abortion surgery does not need to ask for the man's opinion, only the mother's own will. I kept the pregnancy test report, the B ultrasound report and the abortion certificate issued by the doctor. I asked Ruru to go to Suyu's delivery room and take some of the child's hair while no one was around. I collected Lu Suyang's hair at home again, and I want to do a paternity test for them. A week later I will recuperate at home. The detective sent me the results of the insurance investigation. When I saw the name of the insured above, I was already mentally prepared. I am the insured and the beneficiary is Lu Suyang. Raise the single amount is 5 million. If I die unexpectedly, Lu Suyang will get a large amount of compensation for my death. And his lover will be able to take my place smoothly, which is a great deal. It's so crazy. I can't imagine what would have happened to me if I hadn't found that scene in the hospital that day. The name of the agent is written on the insurance receipt, which is Lu Suyang's good brother Lin Jiyun. I asked Ruru to contact Lin Jiyun, saying that there was a large insurance policy that I wanted to be his agent, and made an appointment with him to a cafe near the insurance company for a detailed discussion. 06. At the appointed time Lin Jiyun arrived as promised, but after seeing me sitting next to Ruru, he turned around and wanted to leave. Ruru stopped him loudly. What are you going on? Aren't you here to handle business? The loud voice of her has attracted the attention of the people next to her. When Lin Jiyun saw this, he knew that he couldn't leave, so he sat opposite me with a flattering smile. Sister-in-law, long time no see. You are still so beautiful. Your friend asked me to buy insurance. Just ask Suyang to call you directly. I'll visit you. How can you come to me in person? He tried to solve the embarrassment with a hippie smile. Don't smile with me. I think you have guessed why I came back to you. I responded coldly. Sister-in-law, what are you talking about? Why can't I understand? He continued to pretend to be stupid. Don't pretend. You also know that your good brother is very suspicious. Don't you think he will keep a hand in this kind of thing? Now I'll give you a chance to see it. Otherwise I don't mind letting you listen to the recording I heard in his mobile phone. Your conversation can be heard clearly. I looked straight at him in a firm tone. I have uploaded the recording to the cloud. If I don't get a solution today, my friend will release the recording immediately. At that time, everyone will know that you assisted Lu Suyang to cheat the insurance, and you are the excise. Out of this door, if you don't give me the results you want, do you think you can still stay in the company? I remember that your wife gave birth to a big fat daughter last year. Can you bear the consequences of the revelation? I think you are a smart person. I believe we won't make a fuss to that point, right? I continued to exert pressure. Lin Jiyun's face was pale and he couldn't say a word for a long time. Sister-in-law, what are you talking about? I'm just an insurance seller. How can I help him do such a thing? He tried to justify himself. I looked at him coldly and took out my mobile phone to play the recording. Don't, I said I was forced, I was coerced. Sister-in-law, I don't want to. Give me another chance. He spoke in a hurry. Speak clearly. I ordered. 3 months ago, Lu Suyang came to me and said he wanted to buy you an insurance. Because the company has regulations, the policy must be present by the insured before it can be signed, but Lu Suyang gave me a 10% compensation as a rebate, saying that if I didn't agree, I would go to my wife and tell her what I had been sorry for before. Sister-in-law, you know that I can't live without my wife's personality. I just agreed. He said it in one breath. Sister-in-law, I was really helpless. For a moment I was fascinated. Please raise your hand. The girl is still so young that she can't be without me. He continued to beg. Your wife can't accept your cheating, so she can accept you stepping on the red line of the law. Why didn't you expect this day when you did it? Of course I didn't want to make a big deal when I came to you. I need a solution to solve this matter. I said calmly. Sister-in-law, do you think this will work? I'll wait to take out the previous policy. It's also my first time to do such a thing, so I haven't dared to file it. So this policy is not effective at all. I don't want to do such a thing for him. He hurriedly proposed a solution. I'll give you 5 minutes. Bring me the policy. I interrupted him directly. It's so awesome. I thought he wouldn't admit it, so I slapped him twice. As a result, you didn't dare to say more words to him, and you ran away. Only. They are really disgusting. They said they were good brothers, but in fact they all left their backs. One recording, the other is not archived and uploaded at all. It's really a piece of garbage. Ruru said indignantly. Actually, there is no recording. I cheated him. I know that Lu Suyang is suspicious. I also have contact with his good brother. He is a coward, so he made such a dangerous move and gambled. I explained. But we have a recording now. I slowly took out a recorder from under the table, which completely recorded our conversation. If Lin Jiyun obediently takes out the insurance policy, I will consider not publishing the recording. But if not, don't blame me for liquidating together. I finally said. 07. 5 minutes later, Lin Jiyun rushed to me, holding the insurance policy in his hand and said eagerly, Sister-in-law, this is the insurance policy. Let's pretend that nothing happened. I haven't seen you and you haven't seen me either. I nodded gently to him and then walked out of the cafe. The sky is blue and there is almost no cloud. This is the first good thing that has happened in more than a week. However, this good mood did not last long. Not long after I got home, I was broken by a message from Lu Suyang. Honey, I miss you so much. When will you come back from your business trip? His tone is as always clown in love 39103. He hasn't replied to the business trip message sent to him so far. Now you can send me messages so calmly. I replied with a sneer. I don't know. It will take some time. What's the matter? He responded quickly. It's okay, my wife. I just miss you. You concentrate on your work outside, and my business trip is over and I have gone home. I'm at home. I sneered, which was obviously to test me. I immediately turned on the surveillance video installed at home. Sure enough, after sending me a message, he threw his mobile phone out of the house. Within 5 minutes, he held Suyu in his arms, held the child in his arms, and walked into the house with the old lady behind him. The family was happy. I watched them walk into my bedroom, hug and kiss each other in the bedroom, and even in my bed. Before Suyu was in the month, she couldn't help doing that careless thing when the child was next to her. I can't wait to go back to that house now and kill them with a knife. But no, after I had a miscarriage, the doctor told me to have a good rest for more than half a month. It's only been a week, and it's hard enough to go to Lin Jiyun to solve the insurance. I can't help but take care of my body. I have a lot of time to spend with them. It's not me who should be anxious, but Suyu, who gave birth to an illegitimate son. I not only recorded the screen but also recorded the video with Ruru's backup machine at home, uploaded it to the cloud, and kept the evidence for the second time. The next meeting is the day when Lu Suyang and I have a showdown. I am looking forward to his expression. Soon more than a week passed. I was not idle during this week. I contacted Tang LV to sort out the assets under my name and apply for property preservation. The house and car before marriage were fully funded by my parents and belonged to my personal premarital property. And after we got married, the car and the other house he bought with our savings were our postmarital property. As the party at fault, I can divide it to 60%. At that time, when I was collecting evidence, I not only found the chat records between him and Suyu on Lu Suyang's computer, but also found the evidence that he helped his direct leaders embezzle public funds, collect bribes, and replace equipment as inferior. I sorted all this out into PPT format and copied it anonymously into the mailboxes of all the leaders that can be found on the internet. Although it is said to be anonymous, no more than 5 people will know about this kind of thing. I believe that his direct leader will find out about him soon. In less than 3 days, he will not be able to stay in the company. Sure enough, less than 2 days after sending the email, I heard that Lu Suyang was fired by the company for leaking the company's secrets and fined 20,000 yuan. But his direct leader was only demoted. It seems that Lu Suyang has become a cannon fodder figure. Now I'm going back to the battlefield that belongs to me. I called Lu Suyang directly. I'll be back from a business trip tomorrow. Are you at home? I could clearly hear that Lu Suyang on the other side was in a panic when he heard that I was going home. I'm here, honey, you're finally coming back. I'll prepare a big table of food for you tomorrow. I'll treat you well, he said eagerly. 08. Through the monitoring screen, I witnessed Suyu leaving home angrily with her child in her arms, followed by the old woman's accusation against Lu Suyang. For the hen who can't lay eggs, you and my precious grandson are leaving? Let me tell you, if my precious grandson has an accident outside, I will never let Sun Qingqing go. Get rid of her for me quickly. When I see her, I lose my appetite and can't even eat. Lu Suyang responded. Mom, something went wrong with my company these 2 days. I don't have enough money now, so I have to order money from her first. For so many years, Sun Qingqing has been firmly controlled by us. What do I want and she won't give it to me? In those years, you and I paid for going abroad from her. This time, I asked her to transfer the house to you directly so that we can start the next plan. After listening, the old lady's attitude eased a little. Well, it's about the same. Hurry up and solve it. I'll go to see my good grandson first. Well, it turns out that their family has been conspiring. To coax me and transfer the house, the next step should be to do it. Unfortunately, they will never reach that point. I told Ruru. I'm going to have a showdown with them tomorrow. Ruru said worriedly. I don't feel at ease if you go alone. I'll find a few strong men to be your bodyguards and wait for you at the door. If that beast dares to do anything, he will be beaten all over the ground. Back to the familiar door of the house, I took a deep breath and pushed the door in. As soon as I entered the door, the scene in front of me was peaceful. The warm yellow light sprinkled all over the room, and the fragrant food filled the table. Lu Suyang sat at the table with a smile. This scene is so warm that it makes people feel a little scary. If I hadn't used it for him, I would have suspected that he would poison the dish. He came over and pulled my hand. I only felt goosebumps all over the ground, so I quickly pulled my hand back. I said straight to the point, Lu Suyang, I know what you did. He was stunned and looked at me blankly. Honey, what are you talking about? Is there someone provoking separation in front of you? Or did my mother force you to take medicine? In this way, I will persuade her not to force you in the future. I looked at him coldly. Don't pretend I know everything. Suyu, do you still remember? Hearing Suyu's name, his calmness was obviously almost unsustainable. He said calmly, Suyu, what a familiar name. Isn't this my classmate? What's the matter? Oh yes, I met her some time ago. Did your friend see it? What did you say in front of you? I really don't, my wife. I swear to God, she and I are just pure classmates. We are innocent. I said sarcastically. You gave birth to a son innocently? He stared at me with wide eyes. Do I have to show you the evidence so that you can tell the truth? I took out the screenshots of the chat records and the video of him and see you in the bedroom. When he saw these things, the color of his face changed. He stared, and blue veins appeared on his face, like a furious lion waving his arm at any time. I looked at him calmly. I advise you to calm down. I dare to take these out, which means that I have backed up countless copies. You have torn up a copy, and there are still thousands of copies waiting for you. I paused and said, oh yes, why don't you wonder why you were suddenly fired from the company? Who reported you? He roared. It's you. Sun Qingqing, what do you mean? Are you going to ruin my relationship for so many years? I sneered and said, it's not that I'm going to ruin you, it's you who ruined yourself. He finally went completely crazy and overturned the whole table, and the plate crackled all over the ground. The warm picture of entering the door no longer exists, leaving only a mess. 09. When Ruru heard the movement, she instantly led several big men to rush in and stood behind me, forming a solid barrier. The moment he saw the big men, he could only put down his hand. He shouted at me, trying to cover up his guiltiness with his voice. Sun Qingqing, you poisonous woman. How did you become like this? I just made the mistakes that men would make, but you are so scrupulous. It's completely different from you who used to be gentle. If you hadn't been able to give birth to a child, if you hadn't been single-minded to work, which wouldn't make me feel the warmth of home, I wouldn't be like this. It's all your fault. I looked at him coldly, with a sarcastic smile at the corner of my mouth. Enough. Don't use the past to disgust me. What I regret most now is that I met you and I was so determined to you. It is said that dogs can't be fed too much. Well, they want to turn over and be their masters. But there is no door. I turned around, and my tone became firm and decisive. I'm asking for a divorce now. You signed the agreement while I didn't want to make things too ugly. Otherwise, with the evidence in my hand, I can not only directly sue for divorce, but also make your family dissuaded. He laughed, but there was a trace of madness in his voice. This is what you have planned for a long time. Are you stramming me? I won't let you succeed. I won't get a divorce. Even if you die, you are still a person of my Lu family. You can't run away. Seeing that he was almost crazy, I knew it was useless to say more. I said coldly, then you wait for the court summons. When I walked out of the house, those big men were also angry for me. They are employees of a security company in the city, and there are some gray industries under the name of their boss. I contacted their boss directly and said that there was a business to negotiate. The market value of this house is 3.5 million, and I sold it to them at a price of 500,000 yuan. After hearing this, although the boss hesitated a little, he was finally moved by my sincerity. Sister, I listened to my subordinates talk about you, and I also disgusted with that kind of shameless person. But you know that millions is actually a small amount of money for me, and I don't need to make trouble. However, since you are so sincere, I will do you a favor. I nodded gratefully. Brother, I know this may be a little troublesome for you, but it's a small matter for you. You wave your hand and let your subordinates solve it. As long as they are kicked out of that house, I will transfer the ownership immediately without saying a word. This cheap money is the money I paid for my eldest brother to drink tea. The boss was very efficient. In less than a week they were kicked out. I also arranged for the master to dismantle the camera in the house in advance, and the money was quickly transferred to my account. The next step is to wait for the summons of the court. However, the owners, who had not moved for a long time, suddenly exploded. The owners were crazy about me in the group, asking what was going on with the residents of 1303. I turned on my mobile phone and saw that it was the old woman who was knocking on the door of 1303 crazily in the morning, cursing while knocking. Poisonous woman. I know you are at home. You hook up with a wild man and let a wild man drive your husband and your mother-in-law out of the house. Let's eat and sleep in the street, regardless of our life or death. Why is my life so miserable? Why did I marry a daughter-in-law like you? Is there anyone in charge? Is there any reason? Where is the reason for heaven? Where is justice? The old woman splashed and rolled at the door, attracting the neighbors to watch. I shook my head helplessly, thinking that the wild man she said would not refer to the younger brother arranged by the boss. This is so funny. 10. I replied directly in the group. I'm sorry everyone. This is my mother-in-law. Because my husband cheated on me and I found out. Now I ask for a divorce but he doesn't agree, which is why I made a fuss. This is part of the proof of his cheating. Now they should have received a summons from the court, so they came to make trouble. I'm not at home either. I've already sold the house. I have sent a message to the boss, and he will arrange someone to go there later. I'm really sorry. After saying that, I picked out a few screenshots and posted them in the group. The group was quiet for a while, and then it began to be lively. My God, you can't see it at ordinary times. You really can't judge people by their appearance. It's such a scum. 1303, I support you. +1. +1. I believe that soon Lu Suyang's cheating will spread quickly through the network of neighbors in the community. It was they who made trouble first and did everything. Don't blame me for being unkind. Then, the neighbor uploaded the video in the group again. I didn't expect the boss to come in person. The boss in the video turned black and picked up the old lady like a chicken and said, "I respect you as an elder, and I won't attack you. Listen to me. This is my house now. I don't care what's going on in your family, but this is my territory. If you make trouble in my territory again, don't blame me for not respecting the elderly and loving the young." Did you hear that? The old lady was so scared that she didn't dare to say a word. She only nodded like a quail. The boss said again, "Big sister, your mother-in-law is really not a thing, but after my brother's hand, she doesn't want to make trouble again. Oh, by the way, my brother found something some time ago, and I sent it to you. I will also do my strength for you." Then he sent a document. It turns out that the old lady is also restless. She likes to dance in the square and specializes in choosing a rich closeness. In the document it's just a few room opening records and the transfer records given to her by the old man, which are also thoughtfully attached with the contact information of the old man's wife. I typed according to the contact information in the document. "Hello, Aunchi. I am the daughter-in-law of your husband's dance partner. It's like this. I heard from my mother-in-law that she had a break in her foot last time, and her uncle took her to the hospital thoughtfully, and then found a place to rest. My husband and I are both busy at work, so I am very grateful for my uncle's help. My mother-in-law said that her uncle also transferred a lot of money to her. Isn't it quite embarrassing? She said she would return the money to you in person. Is it convenient for you?" I could obviously hear the gnashing of teeth on the other side. "Give me the address and I'll be there soon." I immediately sent the address of the old lady's current rent, just waiting for the good show. In less than 5 hours the old lady kept calling me, but I didn't answer any of them. She texted me and cursed me. The more cruel she scolds me, the more miserable she is. Lu Suyang also called me, and I answered. "Sun Qingqing, what have you done? Is this the person you are looking for? Mom's face has been beaten and the money has been transferred. What on earth do you want to do? What's the matter with you coming to me? What are you going to do with your mother? Do you still have courtesy and integrity in your heart?" I sneered. "Integrity and integrity? Lu Suyang, you'd better ask your mother what shameless thing she did first to make her face swollen. Her original partner showed mercy to her subordinates. If you don't do anything wrong in your heart, you can call the police. It's worthy of a family, a phoenix man, an old woman who knows 3 things and is not respectable for the old man. Oh yes, now there is also a little third Suyu. It's a perfect match, lock it up. You. Before he finished speaking, I hung up the phone directly. And blackly him all. 2 days later, the door was slapped vigorously. I held back my anger and looked at the cat's eye. It was Suyu. She stood at the door with the child in her arms, and her ghost did not disperse. I don't know how they found it. 11. The knock on the door was still banging. I opened the door impatiently and prepared to watch her performance. "I'm sorry, Qingqing. It's all my fault. It's Suyang that I couldn't help looking for when I went back to China. I seduced him. It's not his fault," she said with a guilty face. "In those years I made an appointment with him to go abroad together, but there was no money in my family, and there was only one father who loved gambling. I almost couldn't live any longer. I met Suyang. He was very kind to me and gave me all the money he had. I didn't know you were in love at that time. I really didn't know. Later we studied and experimented together abroad. We love each other very much. But my father found me and threatened me that if I didn't give him money, he would let me marry a divorced disabled old man that I'm so scared. But I don't have money on me, and neither does he. He can only borrow money to go back to China. He is at home and I am abroad. He sends money to me every month so that I can finish my studies smoothly. I came to see him as soon as I returned to China, but he got married. I couldn't control myself and began to contact him to restore the relationship. Sorry, it's all my fault. Clear. Jing, I know you are a good person. Will you complete us? I beg you. You have everything and I only have him. Can you give him to me? Well, I've been proposing divorce, but Lu Suyang doesn't want to. You shouldn't come to me. You should go to him. I don't know how much you said is true or false, but you are a pair made by heaven and earth, and I sincerely wish you. I responded coldly. No, you are too harsh. You want everything, but you ruin Brother Suyang, causing Brother Suyang to lose his job, and now he has no place to live. You bad woman, I won't believe what you say. You have a cruel heart, a snake scorpion heart. You don't want to die. She suddenly became emotional. After saying that, she threw the baby in her arms to the ground and fell to the ground herself. The old woman suddenly came out of the stairway and pointed at my nose and scolded. Well, bitch, this is a newborn baby. How can you throw the baby so cruelly? My grandson has 3 advantages and 2 disadvantages. I will definitely sue you and let you go to jail. After saying that, she helped sue you up and began to call the police. It's really a big show. It is said that tigers don't eat children. In order to mess with me, they even fell down their own children. But it's really insightful. The police came quickly and wanted to take us to the police station for a summons, and asked a policewoman to take the child for an injury identification. Fortunately, I knew in advance that the person who came was not good, so I had already recorded the video on my mobile phone that I'm sitting upright and I'm not afraid. When it came to the routine inquiry of the police station, the old lady began to accuse me crazily, saying that she saw me knocking my child and pushing Suyu with her own eyes. She leaned on the corridor without monitoring, which turned black and white upside down. I just thought it was funny and directly showed the video in the mobile phone to the police. The policeman sobbed after watching it. Maybe this is not common. The old lady saw that I recorded the video and cursed loudly. The police next to her couldn't listen any longer and pulled her away directly. The child's examination also came out. Maybe Suyu controlled the force, and the child was not damaged. The police were also helpless in the face of this situation. They could only educate them verbally, and then wrote a letter of guarantee to let us go. I'm so tired. They are like a pool of mud entangled with me. Although they are not fatal, they are disgusting. After solving it once, there will be a second time. I asked Lawyer Tang, is there any way or any more evidence to get me divorced at the time of the first trial? Lawyer Tang said apologetically, the court will mediate in the first trial. If the mediation fails, the court will rule not to grant the divorce. But in your case, the second trial can definitely decide. Just then, the detective who had not been contacted for a long time suddenly appeared and brought a turning point to the matter. 12. The detective's information was like a heavy hammer, which shocked me. Sister Sun, I found a message that Suyu and Lu Suyang registered their marriage in Ireland on May 11, 2017, which is the information published on the official website. This should be helpful to you. Ireland, a country full of romance but does not allow divorce. They have already been connected there. And I was actually tricked into this deformed relationship by Lu Suyang in the name of love during their marriage. On June 20, 2019, we registered our marriage in China, and he has already been bigamy. It turns out that I am the third party in their marriage. What Suyu said was all true. They are the couple who love each other deeply. Lu Suyang returned to China only because his beloved was in trouble and needed money to relieve him. He found me and used me just to squeeze more benefits from me to support them. Thinking of this, my disgust for Lu Suyang has reached its peak. I can't wait to have a time machine, go back to the past, and scold myself for being carried away by love. I told Tang LV the news. After a long time, she sent me a message. Okay, calm. I know that I have one half of this battle. On January 11, 2023, the court opened. Lu Suyang on the dock looked arrogant. Obviously, he also consulted a lawyer. Knowing that the first instance is unlikely to be sentenced to divorce, you can continue to pester me and make me mentally broken. However, when Tang LV listed the evidence of his cheating one by one, his face began to become flustered. Especially when Tang LV mentioned the fact of his bigamy. His defense lawyer was also stunned. Bigamy is an act that violates the criminal law. This means that he may face prison. Lu Suyang began to shout and deny everything. But Tang Law has prepared all the evidence, including the proof of their marriage in Ireland. According to China's law, those who have a spouse and get bigamy shall be sentenced to fixed-term imprisonment of not more than 5 years. The judge finally ruled that our marriage relationship was broken, and the two parties divorced. I got 80% of the property after marriage, which will take effect immediately. At the same time, Lu Suyang was sentenced to 4 years in prison for bigamy. I was finally liberated. I bought another property with the money from the sale of the house and the property I got, a house that really belongs to me. Rura brought me good news. The results of the paternity test of the child she helped me find in the institution and Lu Suyang came out. The results show that there is no blood relationship between them. It turned out that Suyu was pregnant before returning to China, so she was so eager to find Lu Suyang to be the pickup man. I made several copies of the paternity test report, my previous pregnancy test report, the B ultrasound report form and the abortion certificate issued by the doctor, and sent them to the old lady and Lu Suyang in prison respectively. Since then I have nothing to do with them. After half a year, although I didn't pay attention to their news, their deeds still spread throughout the city. It is said that the old lady's family is in a commotion because of this matter. They took the child to the paternity test several times, but none of them were Lu Suyang's. Now it's like a dog biting a dog, a chicken feather on the ground. And it is said that Suyu, the junior I once regarded as an enemy, was also in trouble because of this matter. She claimed that it was Lu Suyang who couldn't give birth to a child, so she looked for someone else. After going to the examination, Lu Suyang was diagnosed with weak sperm, and it was difficult to have his own child. As for the child I was pregnant with, if it hadn't been aborted at that time, it would have been Lu Suyang's real flesh and blood. However, it is meaningless to say this now. I have a successful career and have never remarried. When I was 32 years old, I went to a welfare home and adopted a girl. She is very good, obedient and loves me. I think I can be a good mother and give her a happy family.